guys, so today I'm going to be teaching you how to make vegetarian beef empanadas. So if you're like me who is vegetarian and enjoyed the traditional beef empanadas, or you're just looking for a healthier substitute, these can fool anyone. With the right seasonings, these taste just exactly like the traditional empanadas. And I will be using a recipe given to me by my grandmother today, a traditional Cuban recipe, but there are many different variations. There are Colombian empanadas or Chilean empanadas. These are just the ones that I grew up eating and the ones I'm used to. So you can add or omit ingredients just depending on what you like. Today I'm going to be using the Gardein Ultimate Beefless grounds as my beef substitute. It's my favorite brand. Of course, you can use any brand of beef substitute, but in my opinion, Gardein has the best flavor and texture for ground beef dishes. I also have store-bought empanada dough, and if you can't find the store-bought, you can always make homemade. I chose not to make homemade dough because I'm only making for about 10 and the dough is pretty time consuming. I might do a video where I make the homemade empanada dough, but for today these will do. They taste just fine. If you can't find the frozen empanada dough at your grocery store, you can always go for pie crust and just cut it into thin rounds and it works just fine. For the rest of my ingredients, I have 1 green bell pepper. I will probably be using just half of this. 1 head of garlic, maybe 3 to 4 cloves is all you need. If you're not a huge fan of garlic, you can reduce or omit some. I have 1 small onion. I have some white wine here. Traditionally, cooking wine is used, but I am not a fan of the bitterness that it gives off, so any good drinking wine will do. Some Himalayan salt, you can use any salt, some extra virgin olive oil, a can of tomato paste. I'll probably be using about half of this. Some green manzanilla olives. Of course, if you don't like olives, you can leave them out. Some garlic powder, and you want to make sure that you get the powder and not the garlic salt because all of the other ingredients will add enough salt. Some ground cumin, some oregano, and a packet of Sazon Goya, which is a traditional Latin seasoning. If you can't find it at your local grocery store, you can substitute paprika, saffron, and a little bit of onion powder, and it'll do just fine. You can also add a little bit more salt since the seasoning packet gives it a lot of salt. Okay, so I've chopped all my veggies, finely diced green pepper. I did half the pepper, the entire small onion, about a handful of these green olives cut in half, and some finely diced garlic, about 3 large cloves. I have a shallow pot here. Of course you can use a pan, but to prevent splatter and because I'm not making a large amount, I just decided to go with a shallow pot. I have about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in here over medium-low heat. And you always want to make sure that you're cooking on low when you're cooking with olive oil. And also you don't want to burn the veggies, you just want to sweat them out. So I'm going to start with the onion first. Now for the green pepper, the garlic, and the green olives. Some people like to add the olives last to keep the firm texture, but I actually like them cooked. So you're just gonna stir around constantly. You don't want the onions to caramelize or burn. We're just leaving it on medium-low until they sweat out and just cook through. So now that my veggies are cooked down almost all the way, I'm gonna add my salt. So about, I say a teaspoon of salt. My garlic powder, I would eyeball just about a teaspoon as well. Cumin is very strong, so I would just be easy with it, maybe half teaspoon. And the same with the oregano, about half teaspoon. Once that's all mixed in, I'm going to be adding the entire bag of the meatless grounds. I will probably be left with some at the end, which is fine because I'm going to be using it for other recipes. So I will stir this around. You can use it frozen, but I like to thaw it a little bit first. And this is when I add the wine. Because the beefless ground doesn't have fat, you're going to need to add either wine, water, or a little bit of both. So I'll be adding a splash of the white wine now, and the alcohol cooks off. So I would say that's about 1/4 of a cup. Once I have all of that just mixed in, I can add my tomato paste. I'm gonna add just a splash more of the wine so that it doesn't get too dry on me. So about 2 more tablespoons. And last but not least, my favorite little packet of Sazon. And you can add raisins, craisins. I know a few people who add little bits of guava to sweeten it up. I like them just plain. You can also make hard-boiled eggs. I've seen plantains added, but for today we're just keeping it traditional. So because the beefless ground is already fully cooked, you don't really need to let it simmer for an extended period of time. I'm just gonna make sure that the wine cooks through, and then I'm gonna let it cool for about 30 minutes, and you can even pop it in the fridge, and then we'll be ready to assemble the empanadas. So here I have my setup to start assembling the empanadas. I have my filling, which has cooled off, my empanada dough, some water to seal the empanadas, and a baking sheet with parchment paper. Today I'm going to be baking the empanadas. Traditionally they're deep fried, but just to keep them on the healthier side, I will be baking them today. So here I have my rounds of empanada dough, and I'm going to place about 1/3 to 1/2 cup of filling right in the center. And then I'm going to dip my finger in the water and just wet the entire outside of the empanada. Then I'm going to fold over and press firmly. And to seal them, you can use a fork or you can fold them over on the edges. And I'm gonna be folding them so that they don't spill out in the oven, and also because they look more presentable. So you're gonna start off by folding in the first corner. And then you're just going to keep folding over the excess all the way around the empanada. And the last one. And there you have it. So I'm ready to bake off my first batch of empanadas. I'm going to poke a few holes in each one to let the air escape as they're baking. And here are the freshly baked empanadas, 400 degrees for exactly 20 minutes, and they are perfectly golden on the top and bottom. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any traditional recipes that you would like to see be made vegan or vegetarian, please leave it in the comments below. Bye!